Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Stephanie Phillips with Veterans in Politics. We're live with Agnes Botelho. She is a candidate for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace, Department number 16. But before we get to Ms. Botelho, Stephanie, do you have any rants?
I do. So the last few days in the news, they've been talking about Title 42 is going to expire now. And CDC is going to lift that.
Explain Title 42. So.
Well, that when the migrants come to the border and they've come from a country with a communicable disease, they are turned away. And under this policy, and now the Biden administration is going to allow it to expire on May 23rd. CDC is going along with it and agreeing with that. And so they're not going to, basically COVID is over.
Oh.
So, and the real kick in the pants is.
I thought it was here for life.
No. It's over now. And the kick in the pants is that the federal government is still requiring the mandates for military. And if they don't get it, they're being relieved of duty. But yet they're taking these immigrants, regardless of their COVID status, their vaccine status, and they're putting them all over the United States without the state's consent. They're dropping them off in the middle of the night, shipping them all over the place. No vaccine, no requirements. They're not U.S. citizens, but yet they treat our citizens terribly and force this vaccine. And it's not right. I don't like it.
Okay.
That's my rant for today.
So my rant is, well, it's not really a rant. Maybe it's more like a public service announcement. I don't know. But yesterday's event was great.
It was great.
It was great. We had a little over 100 people there coming and going.
We did.
In that small little bar area. Uh-huh. Surprised the fire marshal didn't pull up. So it would have made the news if they pulled up. But that's probably why they didn't pull up, because they didn't want to put that on the news. Right. And I want to thank you for co-sponsoring with me.
Thank you.
So how much is my part of the bill? Because you left, took off, bill was already paid, and I was looking for you to pay my part, and you were gone.
I did that in the very beginning, before you even got there.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we need to settle up then.
It was good. We
got to settle up, girl.
We had a good time.
Settle up. But it was a good time. We passed out all the endorsements for, we endorsed 14 candidates, and I think we passed out 10 of them. And then we had it was a constitutional thing for the candidates that are in the primary, the constitutional seats, which was U.S. Senate, right. Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, and Attorney General. And the only one that wasn't a constitutional seat was the Assembly seat. But
how many candidates did we have? 20?
Lots.
At least 20 that were there.
It was more than 20 that was there. Did you see them when Cheryl Mendenhall called them all over? Or Cheryl, I'm sorry, don't hold it against me, Cheryl. Cheryl Mendenhall called them all. But she did her big banner on top, so that's the only thing you saw. You didn't even see the little one. The Richard Scotty one was on to the side. The Seagal one was taped to a chair. The Joey Gilbert one was over here. But
we needed a backdrop. We could have brought your backdrop.
No, that was all right.
Think about that next
time. That was probably too much work. But we were honoring the candidates to get their name out there. Nobody wants to see my backdrop.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't. No. So anyways. So that's all I have. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
We have Agnes Botelho.
Yes.
Who's running for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace, Department 16.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for coming. Could you tell us a little bit about you? Who are you?
Okay. I'm 42 years old.
All right. Do you like picnic baskets?
Start right there.
Picnic baskets and long walk in the park?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
I was born in the Philippines.
What part?
Cebu.
I've been to Manila and Angeles City.
I still have family there.
You look familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you down there?
Maybe my family.
And that little GP that got down there, that was you.
The little GPs. I haven't been back to the Philippines since I was 13 or 14.
What year was this?
1994, I want to say.
Oh, okay. I was out there in 87.
Okay. Yes. No, I just left.
You just left?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So we moved to Hawaii. I grew up on
Beautiful
small
but
island
expensive.
of Kauai. Yes. I went to vacation in October and really a gallon of milk. I have a 3-year-old or soon to be 3-year-old son. And we went grocery shopping and it was unbelievable.
Everything is imported.
Yes. I spent $500 on groceries for a week.
Oh my goodness.
And this was, like eggs, bacon.
It wasn't
just
even a
breakfast
Sam's
stuff.
Club.
No, it was not at Sam's Club. This was a regular grocery store.
Wow.
I left Hawaii to go to, I know, this is crazy. Small island on Kauai or in Hawaii. And I thought, I'm going to go to a big state because I really need to expand my horizons. And I got a scholarship at Baylor University in Waco, Texas.
Wow. Isn't that the FBI screwed up over there?
There have been some documentaries on that. Okay. And then my family moved here. Las Vegas is known as the Ninth Island. And so.
Really?
Yes.
The Ninth Island.
The Ninth Island.
All right.
Okay. So, you can get such good food here, and there's so many Hawaiians here. Transplanted
There's a lot of Hawaiians here.
Transplanted.
So you had the roasted pig.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually went to a luau when we went back in October. Because when you live there, you're not trying to do the
I thought you
tourist
guys
things,
had a little COVID thing, 14 days.
It was such a pain.
Isolation or something?
No. We had to show negative positive. We had to do negative COVID tests. And they didn't even really check it once you got to the airport. I was all freaked out about it because we had so much money on the line with the condo, the Airbnb, the rental. We just had so much money. And I'm like, if they turn us away at the Hawaii, at the airport in Honolulu, what am I going to do? I have my 2-year-old with me, my mom. What are we going to do?
Quarantine anymore when you got there, right?
No, they'd eased up a little bit.
Okay.
But just before that, we planned to go the year before. It would have been 2020 in December. And 2 days before our scheduled trip, they shut Hawaii down.
Wow.
And so, we couldn't go. So we rescheduled for October. So my family moved to Las Vegas. I decided, Waco's not really for me. I was so lonely. And it was, I learned a lot while I was there. Did well, moved here, got a job. Went to UNLV, graduated UNLV, and decided to go to law school. So Boyd graduate. Yeah. So I've lived in Las Vegas for 24 years.
Okay.
I'm currently a chief deputy district attorney at the Clark County District Attorney's Office.
You hanging out there with my buddy Steve Wilson?
Yes, I am. He's my boss. And I've been doing that for...
Does he know you running?
He does. I hope. Do you, boss?
He's going to know now.
Now you know.
Tell me what that endorsement.
Yes. I'm hoping for it anyway. And so 15 years, almost 15 years as a DA.
What department?
Justice Court Department 16.
No. What department in the DA's office?
Okay. I spent a majority of my time in the gun crimes unit. So we focused primarily on repeat offenders who used firearms. Very violent offenses, anything from shootings to robberies, like robbery series. Anytime it's more than, 3 or 4 or 5 robberies. The most that I had was 18 committed by one person. Jeez. And so we would focus, that unit was focused on repeat offenders using guns. I also spent a lot of time on our track team, our general litigation team.
Explain, what do they do?
They handle everything else that's not handled by a specialty team.
Okay.
And so stabbings, we don't have a special, unit.
So you've seen a lot of photos then?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, it's disturbing that I don't react to them.
How long you been with the DA's office?
Almost 15 years.
Okay. You familiar with the Stanley Gibson shooting and the Trevon Cole shooting and all that?
Just what I could glean from the news. But honestly,
you weren't on those cases.
No,
okay.
No.
Because I've seen the photos of those cases.
Yeah,
it was absolutely heart-wrenching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many heart-wrenching cases. I'm actually gonna retry a case probably in May.
Was it a hung jury?
No, it was a reversal from the Nevada Supreme Court.
Why is that? Who messed up?
Well,
Do tell.
I'll just tell you what the ultimate holding was. But the reason it like jogged my memory is as I'm driving down Charleston, this murder occurred right at the corner of Charleston and Torrey.
We moving. Pack up. We moving.
No.
Bad neighborhood.
No. It was a young boy, 15 years old.
Wow.
And so he was run over and killed during the course of a robbery. And it happened in 2013.
Did this young child had anything to do with that robbery?
No.
Just an innocent bystander.
Victim. Yeah. And so the defendant was convicted and appealed. And the Nevada Supreme Court held that there's, of course, this thing called Batson. And
say that again?
It's Batson.
What is that?
And basically it's a seminal case that says, you have the right to be tried by a jury of your peers and you can't discriminate or...
Isn't that in the 14th Amendment anyway?
Yes. But you have the right to be tried by... you can't exclude certain minority groups from a jury. And we made a challenge, my co-counsel and I made a challenge to this one juror, it was a minority juror, because of certain beliefs that he or she said about whether they could be fair or impartial.
Right.
The judge at the time, she's passed now, the late Judge Valerie Adair, she said, look, you didn't have enough.
She's what?
She passed on, so it's late Valerie Adair.
Valerie? What do you mean she passed on?
She died.
When?
Like a year and a half ago, maybe a year. Did you know
I didn't
her?
know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know her well.
Yeah. She was.
I guess not well enough.
Yeah, she was a good one.
I didn't know she passed away.
She did.
I thought she just retired off the bench.
No. Yeah. And so she said, look, you don't have enough for what's called a for-cause challenge. And so, she said, you're going to have to use what's called a preemptory challenge.
What took her life?
I believe it was a sickness. I don't know. I don't know what specifically. She was very private about it. So she continued to work while she was.
I used to go to lunch with her.
You did. She was a good one. So driving down Charleston has me feeling all kinds of things. But anyway, there was a mistake as to when a certain juror was excused. It was, it was really the timing. And the case got reversed and we have to try it again.
Okay.
So,
Ms. Botelho.
Yes.
Why in God's name would you want to be a judge? How come you don't go in private practice and make a lot more money?
Well, the golden handcuffs are on me. No, it's PERS. We have PERS, a retirement program.
You like the PERS. at least you're upfront about it.
I am honest.
Yes. You like the PERS. The PERS is pretty good.
PERS is good. And you know what? I bought 5 years. And so I've been there 13 years, or 14 years. I add 5. So, I've bought myself some time. But during the course of my career at the DA's office, I moved here, I became a deputy DA in 2008, and I've seen just I don't want to say decline, but just a shift in the beliefs and also the rulings coming out of our judges.
How so?
I think we are a lot less focused on community safety and victims' rights. I think the people that have been elected most recently have, engaged in some sort of like judicial activism.
You can't be an activist from a bench.
I don't think you can.
No, you can't.
You can't because, the whole role of a judge is to be fair and impartial. You follow the law. And then you consider if let's say it's a tie or, it's a close call, you consider everything and then you make the best call. But in most recent years, I feel like that's less of the determination that's being made.
Are they coming from the left or the right, or do you know?
Left.
Okay.
And look, I mean, it's a nonpartisan race, you know, but at the same time, I think certain offices or certain, you know, positions call for just being impartial and being fair. And I've just had to explain too many times to victims, you know, hey, why was this person released? Or why is it that, you know, this person who has committed, you know, violent offense after violent offense after violent offense, why is this person getting probation? Or why is this person getting the minimum sentence on something? Now, the position that I'm running for is justice of the peace, as you indicated. And so there are 2 tiers of courts, well, actually 3 with the Nevada Supreme Court and the appellate court, but it's justice court, then you have district court, and then you have your appellate courts. Justice court is where...
and then you can even go to Supreme Court if you don't like the appellate court.
Yes. And so justice court is where defendants or individuals who have been charged with a crime, they come through justice court, you're arraigned, bail or custody status is addressed, and then, you know, preliminary hearing is set or a misdemeanor trial is set. And the judge, you know, if I'm elected, I would be determining probable cause to see if there's enough evidence to hold a case, you know, for trial. But I'd also be making determinations on custody status and bails. And so I identified this particular tier of courts because that's where some of my frustration has grown from in recent years. Eventually, maybe district court, you know, to make changes there. But I thought, that's my first time running. So let me try this.
So being in that department that you're in, how do you deal with the stress that comes along with it, and the disheartening and the grieving? How do you handle that? What do you do for a release?
Well, I've just recently learned that
Yoga?
our job. I wish.
Breathing methods?
Honestly, you know what I do? I have a dog. It's an anxiety dog. No.
Anxiety dog.
No, I spend time with my son. My son has really put things into... He's almost 3, the end of this month. He's really
past the terrible 2s?
Yes. Oh, well, I think they're terrible 3s.
Terrible 3s too.
I really think
the
they're
3s
terrible
are worse
3s.
than 2.
But he was so good. And just at the end... Oh no, he can speak so well. He can argue. He can ask for more time. But I spend a lot of time with him because nothing will make you focus on the present and make yourself 100% available than a child. I mean, I could have the worst day. I could be upset, you know, something not go my way, or I've seen the worst things that could possibly come from humanity and crimes being committed. But when you have this kid who just wants to play with you and hug you, I mean, that's your therapy. That's my therapy. I just learned there's vicarious trauma from our jobs.
That's true. So how do you deal with the public defender's office? Do you have a good relationship with them?
Yes, for the most part. Okay. Yes. It's important to have good relationships with, you know, defense counsels, because even though it's an adversarial process, really, ultimately, everyone, the judge, defense attorneys, the prosecutor, we're all after one thing, and that should be justice.
So if you have evidence to you prosecuting a case, and all of a sudden you really thought this guy or this girl was guilty, and all of a sudden you got evidence to say otherwise, do you suppress it, or do you pass it on to the public defender's office or opposing counsel?
You absolutely have to disclose that. If it's exculpatory, which is the buzzword, if you can explain away
guilt. Even if you felt
guilt,
that this person was guilty, you would
absolutely. And I'll give you an example.
Sure, I'd love to hear it.
It made it in the paper. Several years ago, it was right when I was about to make chief, so I would say 2014. I was handed a case. It was a sexual assault, several counts of sexual assault against younger, two girls, 2 sisters.
How old were the sisters?
At the time of the the abuse or the alleged abuse, it was like 4 and 5 or 4 and 6, fairly young. And they alleged that a neighbor, committed sexual acts upon them. And fast forward to, this happened like 8 years before. But in 2014, I get assigned the case from a senior deputy. And my co-counsel and I are reading through the file and organizing. And it got continued once before. I'll just kind of shorten the story. But literally on the eve of trial, it was the Friday before a Monday start for a trial. I'm pre-trialing the detective on the case. And my co-counsel's with me and we're talking and I say, hey, why is it that, it took so long to file these charges against this individual? Because there had been a lapse of several months. And just curiosity. You're going to want to answer this for a jury. Hey, the kids disclosed at this time. Why weren't charges filed immediately? Why the lull or, the gap in time? And, she pulls out a sheet of paper and she's reading from it. And she says, something to the effect of, well, the girls needed additional therapy. They had been, molested by their brother. And so they were getting certain events or certain details of the events mixed up. So the abuse from the brother and then the alleged abuse by the neighbor. And so they needed therapy to flush that out. And speaking with the therapist who had treated them, the detective learned that the therapist believed the girls had, they were sort of projecting the guilt that they had for their brother being sent away because he was a minor. So he was sent away to like a home for sexual offenders. And so their brother, who was their main caregiver, got sent away and they were projecting or wanting to, project the blame or the abuse on someone else. And that, the kids were being ignored at home by their mom. And basically that they had this reason to not fabricate, but maybe even confuse what happened to them. And as she's reading this out loud, I'm thinking, okay, I've combed through this file that has never been in there. And if I don't know it, the defense attorney doesn't know it. It's exculpatory. If you have statements from a therapist who's treating the girls saying they may be mixing up their offenders, they may be making it up because they want attention from their mom. But I'm telling you, these girls, they were now 8 years later, they were beautiful girls in high school, very well spoken. And I don't know what would have happened in front of a jury because, with sexual assault cases, defendants can be found guilty just on the word of the accuser. It doesn't have to be corroborated by any kind of physical evidence or any other kind of evidence. And so to me, it was a toss-up, but it was also a risk that wasn't worth taking. So we get this information. I say, hey, where are you? What are you reading that from? She's like, oh, it's in these notes. So, well, I don't have those notes. Can I please make a copy? She leaves.
This is the therapist's notes.
This is this is the detective's notes outlining her conversation with the therapist.
Any HIPAA violation violated?
No. And so anyway, we make a copy and we had pre-trialed this detective before and this had never come up. I never saw these notes. My co-counsel hadn't seen the notes. And immediately, of course, my heart sunk because I thought, this hasn't been disclosed. There are rules. You have to disclose evidence in a timely manner, which is proper. Those are proper rules. We get to, of course, I copy it. We read it over and over and over and over again. We immediately call the defense attorney and we say, hey, listen, I just faxed you something. Please take a look.
You won the case.
Please take a look. And he got on the phone and he was beep, 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 can't beep, believe this, all this stuff. And so a lot of beeps.
A lot of F beeps.
Yes, F's, S's, And so my co-counsel and I said, look, why doesn't your guy take a polygraph? He's been asking to take one all of these years.
Why didn't anybody give him one?
It's divided. Polygraph examinations or the results of polygraph examinations can't be used in court. Okay. But to me, on cases like that, it's a good tool,
Right.
especially if I'm unsure at this point, you know, and there's been this evidence that hadn't been disclosed all this time. 8 years is a long time.
It's a long time.
Okay. For a case to be sitting. But anyway, he says, of course, this is what we've been asking for, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's split. Some DAs use them, sometimes some don't, you know, it just depends. And I say, okay, well, we're going to schedule one for Monday. My co-counsel and I go in, we watch his polygraph, and the polygrapher comes out and says, hey, listen, this guy's telling the truth. Like, I sense no deception, none. He shows us the little things. So we show up, and again, it's Judge Valerie Adair. It's her courtroom.
You really shocked me with.
I'm sorry. I know you're kind of off kilter with that. Yes, yes. But it was her, and she was so kind to me, you know, during this case in particular, because I was scared. I was scared to dismiss this case because, I mean, you have 2 victims, you know, and some people believe you should let a case like that go to a jury because the jury hears everything and then they decide, right? I mean, they're the ultimate fact finders.
They were so young at the time.
They were
That's
so
going to weigh
young.
on the jury.
Yes. And they're so well spoken, just the most beautiful girls. And I thought, oh, am I going to get in trouble at work? You know, here I am, like I'm a newer deputy. A senior deputy gave this to me, and I'm going to go in and dismiss a several count sexual assault case from a specialty team. And so we go in.
Who's the judge?
Judge Adair.
Oh, it was Judge Adair. Sorry.
Yeah. So we go in, and she had already been kind of briefed by both parties. And we go in, and I have to say, well, Judge, you know, as a prosecutor, I have an ethical violation. I mean, I have an ethical obligation.
Obligation, not a violation.
Yeah, not a violation. Now I'm off kilter. I'm thinking about Judge Adair. I have an ethical obligation not to pursue cases unless I believe I can prove them beyond a reasonable doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I can't. So I moved to dismiss this
Good
case.
for you.
And I just, my heart sunk because we were going to go talk to these girls and let them know what we did or what we decided.
So were they sexually abused or not?
I think they were. I think they were.
By this person, or was it somebody else?
I think it was the brother. I mean, the brother definitely abused them.
Not the one that you were trying to prosecute.
Yes. This was the neighbor that was being prosecuted. Do
you ever go back in a situation where a parent knows what's going on? Like you said, the mom kind of neglected them and wasn't around. Do you guys ever, or can you go after the parent for neglecting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's rarely done.
You usually don't hear about that kind of thing.
It's rarely done. Usually, I mean, we charge it when that particular parent not only knew, but kind of had a hand in it, or at least physically, you know, watched, or, you know, had more, that we could prove more involvement than just, hey, I had an inclination.
But just turning a blind eye to me is just as bad as,
agree.
You know, as watching or whatever.
I agree.
Yeah.
But it's about really what we can prove, and we'd have to prove knowledge, you know, to prove a neglect in court. And it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So
what about the neighbor went through how many years?
8.
Went through this for 8 years. His life
He was on house arrest for 8 years.
turned upside down.
Oh, wow.
What's his recourse?
He really
to get
didn't
some
have
type
one.
of
I mean, he really didn't.
sanctions.
I don't know what he pursued. I don't know if there were, you know, complaints or whatever
Could
it
he have went
was.
civil with this?
Sued the city,
I don't think
right?
so. I mean,
For
I
that?
don't know.
He couldn't have went. He had no recourse. I mean, you put a man through
I don't know what.
for 8 years, and
I don't know if he did a complaint. I don't know what he did. All I know is it wasn't against me.
right.
Because he
You're
was.
the one that
He was
that
very
kind
thankful.
What's that word I'm looking for?
Exonerated.
Exonerated him. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, he was very thankful. He took a job as a runner for the defense attorney that represented him, and I'd see him in court, in the courthouse every once in a while, and he always said hi, and he always said thank you. And I'm just, you know, here I was feeling guilty. Well, you know,
It's not your fault.
No, it was just such a weird situation because I didn't want to get in trouble at work, you know, and I shouldn't have been concerned about
just
that.
talk to Steve for you. You've been
Oh,
fine.
absolutely. No, we did end up talking to Steve. And of course, he was like, oh, yes, of course. You know, he stood behind our decision 100%. Absolutely. But, there were certain people in our office who were not pleased with that decision. And
Of course not.
so we got some
haters out there.
We got some flack for it. But
So-
you know what? I don't regret it ever.
Absolutely. Because you don't want to put an innocent person
Absolutely
behind bars.
not.
They said there's a lot of innocent people behind bars.
Well, not for me, because
Doesn't the district attorney's office, we had the DA here several months ago, and he was talking about this program that he has to, if there's new evidence that came up and that a person is guilty of the crime, they'll take a look at it, and if there was enough, they would retry the case.
Our conviction integrity unit.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that
Yes,
program?
absolutely.
Are you part of it?
You know what they do is there's an attorney that is specially assigned to that unit.
Mm-hmm.
He was a former defense attorney, well regarded.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll review, cases get brought to his attention, either by a defense attorney or someone,
Mm-hmm.
and gets the case file, reviews it, combs after it, looks at the new evidence. And if you're the DA who negotiated it, they bring you in
Mm-hmm.
and they have a conversation with you and talk to you about the case and things like that. With some of our higher ups in our office, and the decision's made that way.
So how do you feel about judicial temperament?
I think it's very important.
How so?
Having been, the recipient of some wrath that I thought was,
Some wrath.
some
I'd
wrath.
love to hear about it. Do tell. Who wrath at you?
Well, it's so important because, it's easier to take someone ruling against you when they're not being rude to you unnecessarily, Judicial temperament is absolutely necessary. And you don't want someone who is going to, berate victims, defendants, defense attorneys, prosecutors. You want someone who's just going to sit there and listen with an open mind, regardless of, this is your job, so get it together. You're having a bad day or you're not happy with something, get it together.
Have you prosecuted a law enforcement person?
I have not. I've prosecuted, a family member of a law enforcement person.
So if a police officer was in front of you being charged as a judge, you would handle it the same way because a lot of people will think that, hey, since you're a prosecutor, you're going to be pro-law enforcement, and they could do no wrong.
No
right?
one hates a bad cop more than a prosecutor, because we are the ones who get the product of an investigation, and we're the ones who have access to the evidence that would prove an inaccurate report, an inaccurate fact being reported. And so we're kind of the gatekeepers in that sense, And frankly, like you indicated earlier, someone's good for it. But if a cop messes up an investigation or acts unethically towards an investigation, I can't get justice for those victims, and no one is more pissed than me.
So Justice of the Peace signs a lot of bench warrants. Not bench warrants, search warrants.
Yes.
Is what I was thinking.
Yes.
What would you look for before signing a search warrant?
Probable cause.
Also.
Probable cause is just, slight or marginal evidence that proves a defendant committed a certain crime. As a chief deputy DA, I also review warrants. They have a, kind of a review process with our DAs submitted to the justices of the peace. It's one of those things where it's there or it's not,
Okay.
And there have been times when we've been called and I don't think that's enough to go to a judge, really,
How about the Constitution? How are you on the Constitution? I'd like to hear your favorite amendment.
Well, I am a lawyer, so speech is very important to me.
Oh, the first.
Uh-huh.
Some people say the second because it takes care of the rest.
Well, yes. I do come from a family.
I thought you would say the 14th or even the 7th.
Yeah, well, I speak for a living, so, I think that's important. I think they're all important, really.
Are you
What do you
familiar?
think about the Second Amendment, since you prosecute
Yes.
firearm
Gun.
cases?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what do you think about the red flag laws here that are so broad and
Look, I also come from a family of law enforcement. My mom, for goodness sakes, 64 years old, has her CCW.
Oh, good for her.
So does my stepdad.
Uh-huh.
So does my brother-in-law.
How about you?
We have guns. No, I don't.
Why?
Why not?
I don't I don't feel comfortable enough handling a firearm.
Have you ever shot a weapon?
I have.
Okay.
I have. For my birthday, my girlfriends and I went to, one of those gun stores, shot, all kinds of guns. I just don't know how I would handle being accosted and having to use it without any more experience or training on it. I feel like it would get taken from me and used against me, really. And so before I do that,
better to have it than not.
That's true. And
because you might need it.
No, honestly, my dad, my stepdad, my mom, they worry so much about that, and they've asked me over and over and over again to get it. But I also have a 3-year-old, so I'm very squeamish. Oh yeah, I already have. I have guns. I just don't have a CCW.
We'll go get a CCW. There's many times, because I've been CCWing since, I don't know, 02, 03, somewhere like that. Mm-hmm. And there's many times I walk out of my house or my vehicle without it, and I turn right back around.
You feel naked.
Yeah, I turn right back around and go get it, because it takes that one time.
Yes.
The one time you feel
forget.
that, that's all right.
Yes.
I'm just going to grab some bubble gum from 7-Eleven. That's going to be the time you're going to say, I wish I did have.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you this. If once I become more comfortable with it,
Especially in your line of work and being down, people can
You're
have vendettas and yeah.
I know.
You're a real target. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or could be.
According to some jail calls, yes.
Right.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
They record those jail calls.
I do.
And yes. And
Did they
so
call you?
I've had defendants call me. I've had them write letters, Christmas cards, talking about my baby. Oh, just crazy things.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you file charges on those crazy things?
Well, they're not threats. It's just,
Is it their opinion of you?
Yeah, but it's, to get something in return. Like I have this one defendant who just, he was blocked from contacting me, and I couldn't handle his case anymore because I'd been handling his case for so long. I got pregnant and I was appearing in court, and he wrote me like all of these Christmas cards talking about how, Mary, Mother of God, you're gonna you're pregnant, you're gonna be the best mother, please let me out so I can help you, solve some crimes. And I'm like, my investigator, actually, I was like, I think it'll be fine. And my investigator, our head investigator at our office said, you're not handling this case anymore. And so they took it away from me.
Do they, how the law enforcement can block their resident addresses so no one can see that? Do you guys do that too?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Oh,
yes.
I could find out.
I know. Oh, I know.
Do you think all records should, just for privacy across the board? Because in California, they're blocked. Mm-hmm. You can't look up, like here, you can look up anyone's, address.
The assessor's website. I mean,
you can get anything.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's all public, but.
Yeah, I mean, there has, yes, I do. From a public safety standpoint, your home, your address, But there are all these people collecting information on us, Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to sound paranoid about that, but they are collecting information. Mm-hmm. Every time I get on my phone, it knows what I shopped for an hour ago, because then that's the ad that's popping up. So they're just collecting information. At some point, someone's going to publish it. So I don't know how private we can really keep it anyway.
So Ms. Botelho.
Yes.
Tell me about the rule of evidence.
So important. So important. As a deputy DA, I'm in court every day. And, I've done 45 jury trials to completion, all felonies. I've also done misdemeanor trials. I've put on so many preliminary hearings. We're talking almost 15 years and every day in court. That's what DAs do.
And these are hearings that man over to the district court.
Correct. And we have hearings in justice court too. Mm-hmm. And suppression hearings and the rules of evidence are always in play. Anytime there's a hearing, anytime there's a trial.
How important is this to you?
Very important. Very important.
Okay.
Because it ensures fairness. You know, should a hearsay statement that's not reliable come in? No, it shouldn't.
Okay, so a justice of the peace handles basically criminal.
Yes,
right?
yes.
DVs,
DUIs, and everything else in between.
Minor assault and batteries.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Yes. No. Felonies also come before us, would come before us.
But you have to man them over to the district court.
After there's probable cause found.
Right. So to man over to district court.
Yes.
As a sitting judge in justice peace, what would you look for to say, okay, there's sufficient evidence to continue this case in district court? What would you look for?
In having reviewed so many cases, it really depends. It's not formulaic. There's not a checklist that I can say, hey, there's going to be enough evidence if there's DNA, there's fingerprints, there's a video, there's a confession, there's this and there's that, because that's not what the law mandates. It's probable cause, at least at that level. Once it gets to district court, it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's a lot more. Really, the definition of probable cause is slight or marginal evidence. It's just this much evidence to prove that this person committed the crimes that we are alleging. And so I would look for that probable cause, some kind of indication. Now, some cases, of course, are stronger than others. There are some cases where you just press play and there it is. There's a confession attached to it. There's DNA that's indisputable. And then there are some cases that are more kind of connect the dots, but still just as strong. And then there are some weak cases that, if I get a case before me and I don't see the probable cause, it's not getting bound up.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions to see if you have any bias.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yeah, sure.
So you're going to be over DVs.
Yes.
Have you ever been a victim of domestic violence?
No.
Anybody close to you been a victim of domestic violence?
Yes.
What would you look for? Because there's not a lot of domestic violence cases. Some of them are hearsay.
Yes.
So what would you look for in a domestic violence case?
It is a lot of he said, she said.
And sometimes they wait months, sometimes years, and the statute's 2 years for strangulation, right?
Yes, yes.
And a lot of people don't know what the statute was for strangulation. They say, oh man, it happened a year ago. I can't do nothing. But when I tell them unique, because I deal a lot of litigants in family court, and I tell them to go file. And a lot of time the police don't want to take their report. And then they call me up and I walk to the police station with them and I say, hey, here's the statute. It's 2 years. What are you doing? Take the damn report.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So what would you look for? And would you consider something, if it was 2 years, would you ask questions like, why did you wait so long? Or tell me.
Yes. So just to kind of start where you left off, would I ask the question, what took so long? No, that's a defense attorney's job.
True. Okay. Good answer.
So point that out.
They say in politics, don't ask the question without knowing the answer. Good answer.
So, the defense attorney would ask that. It's their job to do it.
Yes, it is.
Or the prosecutor's job to explain that gap. Okay. I've handled a lot of domestic violence cases, and I'll tell you this much. The ones that I've prosecuted are the ones that keep me up at night. Okay, because there are really, 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 really serious domestic violence cases. But there's a lot of them, okay? And there's a lot of, it goes from a push or throwing something at someone, not to minimize that, to, trying to kidnap and, stab someone to death or kill them, okay? And so there's this big wide range. So what do? It's kind of like a sexual assault where you don't really have evidence. You have he said, she said, right? Well, you look for independent witnesses. I love independent witnesses, people particularly not involved with either party. Good Samaritan who just sees a smack or who sees some woman or man being beaten up, that's gold, The 911 call, I like to hear that because, look, a lot of victims with domestic violence, they recant because by the time the 14 days for a preliminary hearing has been, is set, they're already back with their offenders and the tune's already changed. And so I like to know, what did they say during the 911 call? Do I hear that fear in their voice? Do I, what is it? So independent witnesses, 911 calls, physical injury is always, it's a good one to consider.
Still prosecute even though the victim may not want to pursue the charge, so you can still.
Yes, but it becomes a lot more difficult. because then we have to roundabout way prove, the relationship, because you need to prove a relationship between them, the offender and also the victim. And then you also have to just prove the other circumstances. Did someone see the hit? You have to have independent witnesses, video, something. I've had victims where can't, like in open court, and just, tell you, no, that didn't happen, even though.
Prosecute them for perjury or contempt?
I've been tempted. I've been tempted. But more so because I think, what? I don't think what you're doing right now, you're not realizing just how much danger you're putting yourself in.
And what happened if they really did make it up?
Oh, yeah, well, yes, of course. But that's kind of where it gets, blurry, where you have to really depend on the system to work. The defense attorneys are going to have to do their job cross-examining and investigating the case for the defendant or for, the accused. And the prosecutors are going to have to really vet what happened too. And the police officers too, And so what would I look for? I'd look for evidence.
Okay.
You can take into consideration the credibility of the person testifying.
So let me move on.
Yes.
DUIs.
Yes.
That's going to come before your court as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Have you been a victim of a DUI, or anybody in your family has been a victim of a DUI?
No, but I won't name names. But, I've been worried about, younger members in my family. It's one of the very first things that I say when my nieces or someone turned 21. Just please don't do it, because nothing is sadder than watching a DUI sentencing. Murders, I'm not minimizing, but there's certain ways to justify murder, heat of passion or self-defense or whatever it is, okay? You felt like your life was threatened. Okay, there's that. Defense of others, okay. But with DUIs, they're just so senseless because there's just no reason for them.
What does the statute say for first offender?
For a felony or a misdemeanor?
Misdemeanor DUI.
Oh, it's fines. A couple
and
of days in jail.
if they compare back in your court again, the same person,
yes.
Second offense?
Yes.
What's the statute say?
It goes up a little bit,
okay, so
but only a little bit.
But no jail time.
More fines, a little bit more jail time.
So there is jail time with.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of times it's negotiated in a sense of, look, they've already spent like 2 days in jail before they had to appear before the magistrate. So it's credit for time served on the.
So do you believe in drugs and alcohol?
Yes.
Do you believe in when it comes to drugs and alcohol?
Yes.
Do you believe in incarceration versus treatment?
It depends on where we are.
And let me add a caveat to that.
Okay.
If they're a veteran.
Okay.
Do you believe in veterans court?
I do.
How
I
so?
do.
I'm up now.
Okay. I do believe in veterans court because, look, I think individuals that we have placed in the position that we have placed veterans, having to serve our country, seeing carnage and the inhumanity that occurs in the world, I think there should be some deference, of course, given to them for what they've seen. My experience as a deputy DA, I've seen, at least with the veterans that I've encountered, show but a tendency towards having mental health issues, PTSD, and
that was
things
going
like
to be my
that.
next one.
And we want to treat that problem. Incarceration.
They said there's not enough mental health facilities in this state.
There are not.
And I can't ask you what you could do about it because you're not running for a legislative position.
Right,
but,
they're not.
But how would you go about helping the Vadans or Las Vegans that's going to come through your court that's going to have these mental health issues? How would you?
I would do it the same way.
You lock them up?
Look, it really depends, and here's why. Let's say, you have someone who continues to commit violent crimes, but have a mental health issue. And they've been given chance after chance after chance at probation to address the mental health issue. And they don't. I don't know what other choices I would have having, the third, fourth, fifth felony now on a violent offense as a judge. Not that I would do this in justice court.
Would you order them to go to a mental health facility or would you order them to go to jail?
Well, see, there's A judge could do both.
I know.
Or either, or both.
Or let them walk.
Or let them walk. To the extent that we can, I do believe we have to try counseling and help first. Okay. And so drug abuse, I understand it's an addiction. Okay. I understand that. Alcohol, it's an addiction. I understand that too. Bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD.
That's not an addiction.
Those are not addictions, but they're mental health issues. Okay. And a lot of times, they're kind of go hand in hand because you're self-medicating and all this stuff.
They do.
Okay. But I think if you can get to the root of the underlying issue, which is either drugs, alcohol, or mental health, it is less likely that the person will go on to commit further crime. But it depends on whether or not the person wants to accept that help. There are times in court where a judge orders the person to stay on their medication, and that's what really the mental health portion of, let's say, Veterans Court or mental health court really is to get people on the type of medication that they need to control, whatever ailment, mental ailment they have.
Have you been a victim of a misdemeanor crime, snatch and grab, home invasion, carjacking?
No, well,
because those are going to come before your court too.
Yeah, someone stole my car once. My ex-boyfriend found it. He found it. The woman had already crashed it into like a wall. Driving. But I never got that car back. It was totaled.
So what you're telling me is that you have absolutely zero bias?
None.
At all?
I've seen so many cases. I just want to know if anything personally happened to you or a close family member. I told you, I have a family member who was DV'd. I told you about that. Mm-hmm. Told you about the DUI, close family, friends. Car stolen, attempted burglary once,
Okay.
But I live scared, so cameras
what,
up.
So what do you think? What do you think, Ms. Botelho? What do you think that you could bring to the bench?
Fairness and impartiality. I promise. I promise to follow the law. I promise to exercise discretion in a very fair and impartial way. I am not going to impose my personal opinions on any given case. I am going to consider what's placed before me, and I'm going to use my common sense and experience to adjudicate the cases that come before me.
Are you familiar with the judicial canons?
I am.
Okay, so if a judge broke the law,
yes,
what would you do about it? Or if an attorney broke the law, what would you do about it?
Report. With attorneys, you can report them to the bar.
Okay.
With judges, you can judicial ethics committee.
Would you go to the chief judge first?
You could.
Or would you just
it depends
go right
on
to
the violation. I really think it depends on the violation. Are you stealing? Are you putting your clients, rights in jeopardy? It really depends on what it is. You have to exercise discretion there too.
Because we've been going after some bad judges, especially in the family court. So I'm quite familiar.
Judicial accountability.
Okay.
And I think that's what's lacking in our community right now.
Because there's a lot of judges are scared or intimidated to report an attorney, especially a high-profile attorney.
Oh, of course.
And a lot of them are scared or intimidated to report another one of their colleagues, which is a judge. Correct. I just want to know how are you going to walk that line?
Yes. Not probably, with the same discretion that I've exercised in all my cases, my thousands and thousands of criminal cases. It depends. It's a case-by-case basis, depending on, the severity of the actual offense. If it's minor, well, what's stopping you from going to the person first? Or talking to the chief judge, or finding out, a little bit more information.
Agree with the chief judge?
Well, it depends too on what it is, It just depends on the severity of the offense. I've seen, the gamut, at least with defense attorneys.
Let's talk about recusal.
Yes.
If and when you are honored to serve on the bench, how's your recusal list? How's that going to look like? Because I've seen some judges, and I get the judges' recusal list, and they got nobody on there. Nobody. I'm like, what the? Nobody's on there.
Okay.
Nobody's on their recusal list. I'm like, are you kidding me? Nobody?
Yes. Oh, I've had this conversation. So one of my very best friends is Judge Tiara Jones.
Good to know. I'm going to write that down. Make sure Tiara Jones is on her recusal list.
Yes. Oh, well, she's a judge. And if I'm a judge, well, we can't hear each other's cases
that's
anyway.
True. They got to bring somebody from Nye or Reno or Washoe or something like that.
But she's currently, chief homicide judge at the district court. And I'm a DA. I am on her conflicts list. She is recused from all of my cases because she's the godmother to my son.
Oh.
Okay. And so that's an automatic, like we looked at each other and said, there is no way you are going to, I can't have cases heard by you. And then we're going to go, that would just, put a strain on our friendship. Plus, it's the appearance of impropriety.
Definitely an appearance of impropriety.
Yes. Well, prior to that, I know she's always like, well, how can I hear any of your cases when I have a picture of Jordan and I, just on my desk? Yes. But prior to that, prior to her being, the godmom, she would always place the conflict or potential conflict on the record. And the defendants and the defense attorneys have the ability to say, well, we don't feel comfortable with that. So what she would say is, hey, I want to let you guys know we are friends. We do things outside of court.
You're more like family.
But this was before Jordan. Okay. And so she would say, we go out to dinner once a week or once a month, whatever it is. We're friends. If it's totally up to you, Mr. Defendant or Miss Defense Attorney, I feel like I can be fair and impartial. She will be fair and impartial. What say you? And I'm telling you, not a single defense attorney ever invoked that conflict because they believed she could be fair. They believed when she said she could be fair that she could, We have to police ourselves though, because once,
It's a lot of faith.
Yes. And it speaks volumes, of course, to her caliber. But once I had the baby and I said, hey, will you be the godmother? It's a definite no. My son's father is also an attorney. He left the office recently and now he's going into private practice. So anytime, of course, I have a case with him, I can't hear. Thomas Moskell.
Trying to get your recusal list filled up for you before you walk out of here.
I would never hear any of his cases. Jordan is too big of a conflict, I think. But yeah, for now, that's about it. That's about it.
Are you showing up to our endorsement process on Sunday?
Yes, of course.
Beautiful.
6 p.m.
So if you think we're hard, wait till you see these guys.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because we want to make sure that when we vet a judicial candidate, then that person is going to be fair and impartial to all parties involved.
Yes.
Even if they feel that person is a POS, because a judge, I believe a judge has a higher standards than any other elected official, including the president of the United States.
Okay,
that's how I look at judges, that they're just supposed to be beyond.
They do have the ability, judges have the ability to really affect the general public or the community.
And they affect your life immediately.
They affect immediately.
Immediately.
Correct. Yes.
For generations, they can affect your life.
Yes.
Way too many of them that prosecute because of their political views. And it's just, they're way out of line. And we've gotten way to the left on a lot of that stuff.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm comfortable with you.
Thank you.
Agnes Botelho.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stephanie, do you have anything for Ms. Botelho?
I think she covered it.
Thank
Good.
And you guys are at the bottom of the list.
We are the
ballot.
very bottom.
So it's good for people to know who they're voting for
Yes.
and could put a face with the name and the voice.
Yes.
And go back, I don't know anything about Agnes Botelho, and go back and look at the video. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
her conflicts
Yeah,
list. Wow.
Yeah, she got 2 people on that recusal list already. That's good. Well, is there anything else you'd like to, get off your chest?
No, just
Or-
thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
This was enjoyable. I thought I've never.
This is your
Usually,
first-
I'm the one asking questions. It's a defendant. I'm cross-examining, and I'm the one that
Is this
they're
your
in the
first?
hot. Yes.
Is it?
Well, I've done other endorsement interviews, but
But not
like
live on
this.
Facebook?
Not like this.
Okay. So, Ms. Botelho,
Yes.
ma'am, could you look into the camera?
Yes.
And Mark is going to zoom in on you.
Okay.
And you tell people why why you deserve to be on the Justice of the Peace bench for Department 16 in this election.
Okay.
Okay. And your point of contact, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm Agnes Botelho. I'm asking for your vote for Las Vegas Justice Court Department 16. I am the best candidate for this position because I have the experience. I have been a chief deputy DA at the district attorney's office for almost 15 years. That means I am in court every day, handling the very cases in the very courtrooms that I'm seeking the position in. I have a command of the rules of evidence, as Mr. Sanson has pointed out, because I use them regularly every day. I have the background and I also have the temperament to sit as a judge. My priority as a judge will be to be fair, to be impartial, and to listen to all of the evidence that's given before me before making a decision. I also will place a priority on community safety, and I am also going to keep in mind it's a balancing act. As a judge, you are trying to balance 3 interests. You're trying to balance a defendant's individual rights, victims' rights, and also the community's rights. Promise that I can make you is that I am going to balance those 3. I'm not going to put an emphasis on one over any of the others. They're all going to be given equal consideration when I'm making my decisions. And I think that is what we should be asking our judges to do. And I will do that. So I would ask you to vote for me.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Botelho.
Thank you.
Point of contact.
Oh, your point of contact.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Sir.
My website is being worked on right now, but it is agnesforjudge.com. It should be fixed in the next, I'd say 3 days.
Who's your campaign manager?
I don't have one.
Okay. And do you have an email?
Yes, it's agnesforjudge@gmail.com.
Do you have a phone number other than your personal?
I do.
Could you-
Let's see what it
Give
is.
that out, please.
Yes, it is 702-608-2167.
Well, Ms. Botelho, thank you so much for coming on the program. I really appreciate it. It's now like 9:15 p.m. You probably want to run home to your little 2-year-old, maybe?
I do.
You do. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Folks, that's Agnes Botelho. She's running for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Department 16. And it's very, very, very important that you guys pay attention to the judicial races. I've been emphasizing this for years. Pay attention to the judicial races because these people affect your life immediately. And if you think that you'll never, ever be before one of these people, well, believe me, somebody you love might. And you want to make sure you pay attention to these judicial races just for them if you feel that you're not the one that's going to be before them, because I'm telling you, they affect your life immediately. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips of Veterans of Politics. Until next time.